What is up, Gig Nation? Welcome back to the channel. It is a beautiful day in Seattle right now. The sun is just poking out of the clouds. The last 4 or 5 days have been absolutely pouring down rain, so this is nice to get a little bit of a sunbreak here, and I figured it was the perfect time to do this video about the pros and cons of delivering with Uber Eats. If you are familiar with this channel, you'll know that I've been delivering with Uber Eats for about 4 months now, and I've had some solid earnings on the platform, but I've also delivered with other food delivery apps like Grubhub, DoorDash, Amazon Flex, back when they used to do food deliveries here in Seattle, and I've done a ton of other gig apps as well. So I know a lot about these apps, a lot about how to compare them, and it makes evaluating the pros and cons of delivering with Uber Eats pretty easy for me. I've also had some full-time jobs, so I'm going to come in here with a perspective that helps people, not only those of you that are not yet delivering with Uber Eats and thinking about it, but those of you that have been delivering with other apps, maybe DoorDash for a long time, and you've been looking at Uber Eats thinking, you know, this could be a good move. It's starting to look attractive. But is it actually worth it for me? I'm going to have some advice that really applies to you as well, because I can definitely tell you how Uber Eats can be both beneficial and in some ways, you know, not as good as other gig economy apps. So we're going to see all of that in this video. Stay tuned for the whole thing, because honestly, I'm putting a ton of work into this, and it's going to be the most comprehensive pros and cons list for Uber Eats drivers anywhere on YouTube. Okay, so let's go ahead and hop into it. And the first pro on the list is going to be the volume of orders. Uber Eats is going to be one of the busiest platforms out there. The only platform that might be busier than Uber Eats is DoorDash. In a lot of places, DoorDash kind of controls the most of the market, but Uber has been putting a ton of money into advertising to gain more customers and more market share. They've also acquired Postmates. They're doing what they can to bring more and more customers in, and that means that as an Uber Eats delivery driver, you're going to be pretty busy delivering with Uber Eats. The only day of the week that it's going to be a little bit slower is Mondays, but overall earnings are going to be pretty consistent on this app if you do want to do it full time. If you're hopping in during the lunch or the dinner time hours, you're going to see a lot of orders coming your way, and it's going to keep you very busy. This is good news because some apps out there, honestly, you'll just have some droughts, some dry periods, even during those busy times, and that can be, you know, a little bit disappointing. That's not to say that there aren't going to be slow times when you're delivering with Uber Eats. There definitely will, but consistently over time, you're going to see that this platform and this app delivers more orders than a lot of other apps out there. Now, I have to follow up this pro with a con that's directly related to the orders that you're going to be seeing, because while you will see a lot of orders while you're delivering with Uber Eats, there's also going to be slow times. Early in the week might be slow. Mornings are usually decent, but not that busy. In between lunch and dinner is going to be slow. Late nights don't always show you a lot of offers coming your way. So there's going to be downtime. There's also going to be times when Uber Eats throws low-paying orders your way. You might see a lot of them on a single day. That's kind of, you know, a little bit disappointing to see. While you're an independent contractor, you can reject those. You don't have to accept them. But, you know, it's always nice to see more high-paying orders consistently coming your way. Just know when you get into this, there are going to be times when it's slow. There are going to be times when you see low-paying offers. You kind of just have to stick with it, be patient, either have something else to do, something else going on, or just wait it out, and things will usually turn around for you. Now, if you're a veteran gig economy driver, you're watching this video, you might be thinking, hey, this is kind of basic. I already know this stuff. Don't tune out. I'm about to get into some of the more details of the Uber Eats app that are really going to be pros, and some of the details that are going to be cons. Stay tuned for that. But we do have to talk about flexibility, because it's something that you just do not get in a day job. With Uber Eats, you don't have a boss. You don't have someone looking over your shoulder. You know, you do have kind of an algorithm looking at your metrics, which is important. So you do have to maintain a certain level of reviews, level of customer satisfaction, but you get that freedom to just go on whenever you want. Do a job that's, you know, relatively easy. You're just picking up food and delivering it. So it's kind of laid back, carefree. Those are all pluses. That's, you know, flexibility is major here. But when you look at the flexibility, you do have to think about some other things that might be negative, you know, as far as the Uber Eats app goes. So one of the big cons here is Uber Eats app updates, kind of what they do to pressure you into taking more orders and to making their system more efficient, more beneficial to their customers, because at the end of the day, this is a customer-centric business. So a lot of app updates aren't necessarily going to be majorly favorable for Uber Eats drivers. So let's talk about a few of those in specific. One of those is that when you are already in an order on the Uber Eats app, when you are delivering, and you're about to drop off an order, Uber Eats is going to send you a new order, and they're going to give you a lot of information. They're going to give you the estimated total payout, they're going to give you the distance, but they're not going to show you that distance on a map. Normally when you see an offer, you get to see a map of exactly where you're going. And so, if you are a veteran driver, you know why this is so important, because even if it's, a mediocre 4 miles and it's a pretty good payout, this could end up being a bad offer, one that you do not want to take if it's taking you far outside of the city to a place where you're not going to get another offer, because then you essentially just have to double that mileage. Instead of 4 miles, it's 8 miles, because you're going to be driving all the way back. You're out of the way, you're not near restaurants, you're not going to pick up another order most likely when you're up there. So this is just one of those things that Uber Eats has done, and it isn't necessarily beneficial to drivers. You'll also see this when they send you an add-on or a batched order. When they send you 2 in a row, you don't necessarily know where you're going to drop off that second order. Transparency is huge here. We are labeled as independent contractors, and as independent contractors, you should be able to have as much of that information as you can to know what orders are worth your time. These gig apps have come a long ways. A lot of stuff wasn't transparent in the past, and then with AB5 looking to reclassify workers as full-time, Uber, DoorDash, a lot of these apps conceded a lot, started showing more information. This pressure has made them come a long ways, but there's still a little bit, further to go. There's still a few things here and there that are kind of annoying and frustrating for drivers. Customer tips. This is definitely a plus when delivering with Uber Eats, and they've done a lot to change around their platform. Basically, right before I started delivering with Uber Eats, I hadn't had any real desire to even try Uber Eats out, just because what I've seen about them, about the low paying offers, it didn't really seem like something I wanted to spend my time doing. But then a lot of other, content creators on YouTube that I follow were posting these videos about how much they were making with Uber Eats during the pandemic. I did a little bit of investigating using the Uber Eats customer app, and I found out that they started prompting customers to tip before they placed an order, and based off the percentage total of their order, essentially raising tips for Uber Eats drivers and making tips actually really competitive with other apps. And that transparency of seeing the tip up front before you accept the offer, it's an expected tip. So, sometimes a customer could decide they don't want to tip you, but 9 times out of 10, you're going to get that tip, or better, at least in my experience and from what I've heard from other drivers that are delivering with Uber Eats as well. These customer tips are going to make you a lot of money if you're delivering in the right neighborhoods. I like to target the suburbs that are just outside of the city, the wealthier ones if I can. You can get some really good tips going and, really make some solid income with Uber Eats if you do this right. One of the big downsides of delivering food with Uber Eats is the fact that you're not going to see benefits. You're not going to get those benefits you normally would in a full-time job with healthcare, with paid sick time off, with unemployment benefits. If you happen to lose your job, you're not going to get any of that support network. Now, a lot of people would kind of, know that this is just the way that it is. You're an independent contractor. You don't expect to have those benefits. It's a side hustle, whatever, even though a lot of people do this full-time. But it's definitely a weakness when you're evaluating what you want to do with your time, whether or not you want to have a full-time job with a boss, a 9 to 5, or you want to work for Uber Eats. You have to consider the benefits. And this has been a main focal point of politicians, of gig worker activist groups. It's been really big all over the news. California has tried to make gig workers full-time employees, but AB5 was overturned by Prop 22. In concession, Uber has actually changed a little bit within California alone. So this is only in California at the moment. If you are delivering on the app more than 15 hours a week, and this is not just time when you have the app on looking for deliveries, this is actually time spent, making a delivery, going to that restaurant, picking it up and delivering it to the customer. More than 15 hours a week, Uber is reimbursing California residents for, I believe, 50% of their bronze level healthcare plans. So if you if you find your healthcare through the system in Washington, they have something different. You search through the Washington Health Exchange. The bronze level is like the most basic, cheapest level, but it is healthcare and it does cover a lot of what you need. Uber's giving you 50% of that for 15 hours or more, and then if you work even more than that, I believe it's 35 or 40 hours a week, they're going to get you at 82% of that cost. So essentially they're chipping in incrementally if you're actually working a lot on the platform. So this is a major step forward, and honestly I think it's pretty cool considering the fact that you're still keeping a lot of the flexibility on the platform, but you're actually getting a little bit of those benefits paid for by Uber. But this is only in California, so we don't know if it's everywhere. And at this point it's still a con, the fact that they have not rolled this out across the entire US. If they do, honestly, I will change it to a pro, even though it's not full coverage. For the fact that it's only part-time and you're getting part of that coverage paid for, that's a major benefit. Another big plus of delivering with Uber Eats is the instant pay. For only 50 cents, you can cash out that balance and get that money quickly. This is one of the biggest pluses of the gig economy, the fact that you could, if you needed money, you could go on, start working at night, cash that money out, and you have that money in your pocket. 50 cents isn't a bad fee. I believe DoorDash still charges $1.99 to get that instant cash out. So you're getting that money quickly, and if you need money, it's better than borrowing money, especially from a loan shark or someone that's going to lend you with a high interest rate, or even a friend that's going to get annoyed if you keep asking them to borrow money. So this is a major plus. And even if you do not instant cash out, you're going to get paid weekly, which is more frequently than most employers will pay you. That's direct deposit straight to your bank account. So every week you can start getting that money sent directly to you. Deactivation is always a looming threat when you're delivering with Uber Eats, when you're on the app. It's something that gets talked about a lot. Personally, I don't think Uber Eats is, quite as savage and as nasty as some other apps out there. I think Instacart, deactivates quite a few shoppers. DoorDash has had a lot of deactivations lately. And Uber Eats, you definitely can get deactivated. Personally, I think that if you're taking pride in what you're doing, if you have any issues and you talk to customer support and let them know, they're actually pretty good at helping you out. So if you're doing things the right way, you don't have to worry too much about getting deactivated. But there's those horror stories about customers that are reporting their deliveries as not being delivered and stuff like that, leading to deactivations. It's always a constant fear in the back of your mind because it doesn't take a whole lot to get deactivated from these apps. And, you're not always having a person there that's a boss. We always look at not having a boss as a plus, but sometimes, you see the fact that other drivers can get deactivated without ever having talked to a person or a boss, and that's definitely a downside here. If you're worried about getting deactivated, I recommend signing up for other delivery apps just to make sure that you have, some potential to earn income. If you are deactivated from Uber Eats, you can always have DoorDash on the side, Grubhub, Postmates, other forms of income, maybe even Instacart, just to make sure that you will have something there if you do get deactivated. Driver incentives are definitely something worth mentioning. They're definitely a plus for Uber Eats. Uber Eats does all sorts of things, from peak pay, where if it's busy, they pay you a little bit of bonus on top of what you're already going to earn. Occasionally, they have sign-up bonuses where you get some extra money after you complete a set number of trips. And they also have quests. I really love quests, but I've only ever seen one of them in like 4 months. And for me, they added on like $4 per delivery if I hit 20 deliveries. So it was an $80 bonus over, only a couple of days, which was definitely nice. They also have Uber Eats Pro. So if you complete a certain amount of deliveries every month, and your points add up to that threshold, all of a sudden you have access to benefits. Some of the ones that I like are there's like a free car towing service if you get stuck. Haven't had to use it, but it could come in handy in my car. Not this car. I usually deliver in a Mazda and it's about to break down, so I have a feeling I will actually need that at some point. Uber Eats Pro is not something that I used. I don't know about you guys if you've ever used it. Personally, I think some of the stuff's nice to have there. I think one of the cool things is free tuition. I believe it's through ASU on their online program. If you haven't gone to college or got that bachelor's degree, you can use that, and then you can drive and deliver with Uber and then potentially study on the side. Or, if you have a relative that also has not gotten that education, maybe you're older, you can pass that off to the relative. That's a big plus. I honestly think that's one of the coolest pluses that the platform enables you to get. But personally, once again, it's not something that I have used. As an independent contractor, you have to pay your own taxes. Now we're going to talk about how this can potentially be a plus later, but right now, let's just talk about the downside of it. You do have to keep track of your mileage. Actually, this is pretty easy if you just download a free mileage tracker. I recommend doing this on the side to make sure that you capture all of those miles, and you basically multiply that by the standard deduction for mileage rate. Right now, I believe it's about 58 cents, and this is going to capture all of your expenses related to your car. Just the fact that you have to track all of this is different than having a full-time job. Now, all of a sudden, you're responsible for being kind of your own accountant, and you have to be on top of everything. You have to be on top of your car maintenance. You have to be on top of a lot of stuff because you are running your own business. For new drivers, this can be a bit stressful, but once you figure out the basics, you figure out the apps to download, you learn how to use QuickBooks or some other free tool. Personally, I like to use Credit Karma because I feel like it does the job, and it's 100% free at this point, although that could change in the future. Once you figure this stuff out, it's actually really a breeze, but it can be a bit overwhelming when you get started. Now, let's talk about how this becomes a pro. If you know what you're doing, if you're delivering an older vehicle that's reliable and that gets good miles per gallon. It doesn't kill you at the pump. All of a sudden, that 58 cents per mile that you are allowed as a deduction becomes a lot more than the actual expenses that you're going to see related to your car. Now, if you read the news, a lot of people are going to tell you that your expenses might be higher, or that they're eating in so much to your profits. But I don't actually think that's true. If you are to deliver, let's say you have an early 2000s Honda or Toyota, it costs you a couple $1,000. Maintenance is low because these cars just go forever, or maybe you know how to do your own maintenance on your car. You're getting, relatively cheap gas at the pumps right now. It's not too expensive. I live in Seattle, so it's more expensive than a lot of other places, but it's still not bad. Honestly, you're gonna have a fraction of that 58 cents per mile as your total cost. So what ends up happening is, at the end of the year, your reported expenses are much higher than what they actually were, and you pay less in taxes than you thought you would have. You might even pay less in taxes than you would at a W-2 job, which is crazy because in theory, your tax responsibility is much higher as an independent contractor. Now, I do 100% recommend talking to a tax advisor before you do your taxes. I am not a tax professional, so do not take my advice on this. Get some professional help to make sure you are doing things by the book. Another benefit to Uber Eats is the fact that it's just such an easy job, really. I mean, you're just picking up food, delivering it. It's quite relaxing, enjoyable. If you're not a big people person, if you like to be alone and just listen to music, then Uber Eats can be a great job for you. You get to have as much interaction with people as you want. If you want to make friends with people in the restaurant, you can. Normally, you can, say hi to people when you're delivering food to them. Don't do that during the pandemic. Keep at a social distance. Drop the food off at the front door. You don't have to make contact with them, and I wouldn't recommend it. But normally, you can have a little bit of interaction, and people are pretty grateful. I've noticed that, especially during the pandemic, so many people are saying thanks. They're going out of their way to be grateful and, show how much this means to them, which I think is really cool. In the past, I'd worked for different gig economy apps, and I had done some moving where I helped people move houses. They were always very grateful because it was such a hard job. But food delivery was like one of these things where people saw it as so easy. It seemed like they didn't always show that much gratitude when you delivered it. I feel like a lot of that has changed recently, and it's for the better because it just makes so much of a difference when you do something for someone and they say thank you. It makes you feel a lot more valuable as a person. So I definitely think that this is a plus when delivering with Uber Eats. And the last point that I want to hit on this video is another pro. I thought it'd be more equally balanced because honestly, there's a lot of pros and there's a lot of cons to delivering with Uber Eats and to the gig economy in general. It's pretty well balanced, and it's kind of what you make of it. But the last real boost, the last real benefit is the fact that if you are scrappy as an independent contractor, you can really make this work in your favor in a ton of different ways. As I mentioned earlier, the fact that if you're driving in the right kind of car, you're not going to actually spend as much as you're going to be writing off in taxes. That's a huge favor here. Personally, I'm an entrepreneur, so I like to have that flexibility of schedule so that I can work on other projects, which I'm really excited about. It would be a little bit harder for me to, take these projects on full time because they do take a lot of work up front before they make money, and you have to have that cash flow coming in. So having apps out there at my disposal is kind of nice to keep that cash flow coming in while I get a ton of the hard work done up front on my other projects that I need to. And there's just so many other ways to be crafty. Personally, when I'm running errands, anytime I'm about to head to a grocery store, I just turn the app on and see if I can get a delivery headed towards that direction in the general area. And I do the same thing when I'm shopping about 5 minutes before I check out, or when I'm heading to check out in the line. I turn the app back on, see if I can get an order headed towards home. Not only can I start making money when normally, I'd just be burning gas, but I can also, write off all that mileage as expenses going about my daily business, and it would be costing me a little bit of money, but now I'm making money while I'm doing it. And it's just these little things in life that give me a lot of joy. I know it seems kind of weird, but that's just the mindset that I have. It's always nice to be making a little bit of money where you would be spending it, and Uber Eats can actually allow you to do that. You can really just be as crafty as you want with these apps. There's a lot of other ways to go further and be more crafty. I've got other videos on that, but that's about all that I'm going to get into today. If you enjoyed this video, please do hit that like button. It really helps with the YouTube algorithm, and it helps me get this video to other people that may be thinking about Uber Eats, and it just helps the channel out because I put in a lot of hard work to these videos, and it's nice to actually see that it's getting to people that want to see it. As always, subscribe to Gig Nation for all of the latest gig economy news and updates. Also, check out the website gigsharks.com. I'm adding some new functionality that allows you to add a resume and essentially, put in all the gigs that you've worked and what you're looking for if you're looking for other gigs. And I'm working with a ton of different gig economy apps to get them on board as well. A lot of the smaller names too that might actually pay better than you'd expect. This is a good way to connect with them. I'm not actually charging them any money. I'm not trying to make money off of this new functionality. I'm just trying to actually make it easier to get gig economy jobs within your city and bring on board these other gig apps that you might not have known about. So that's definitely cool. Check it out. If you enjoy finance, check out my other channel. I leave a link in the description where I talk about the stocks that I'm excited about because that's another thing that I love doing. I love investing and I love learning about different opportunities in the stock market. I'm big into electric vehicles and alternative fuels, and I've actually done pretty well lately. And I'm trying to just get as much of that knowledge out there and learn as much as I can myself. So join that channel if you want to invest, take some of this money that you're earning and invest in your future.